This requires talking back to those voices in your head. This requires shutting out some distractions. This requires getting in your prayer closet. This requires building new habits. This requires actually posting the content. This requires doing some deeper study. This requires hiring a life coach. This requires going to therapy. This requires seeking out mentorship. This requires work. You are literally doing everything that you can to elevate to the next season. You have a beautiful vision from God. Literally, He has gifted you a dream, the dream that your heart has always longed for. You have a blueprint, you have a strategy, you know exactly what it is that you've been called to do to make an impact in the lives around you. The purpose is clear, and you are telling yourself that this is the season. This is the season where I'm going to go after every single thing that God has told me to do. But you may be feeling a little overwhelmed. Maybe your emotions are all over the place. You are second guessing your next step. Maybe you're wondering, what will people think? Even worse, you've probably started to question, am I really that girl? Like, can I ever truly, really walk in obedience with where God is calling me? Baby, let me tell you, you are not alone. Hey girl, hey, my name is Coach Cassidy, the certified life coach for Christian women. I give you the exact strategy that you need to go from survival to significance so that you can finally live the life that you've always dreamed of. Now, in this video, we are going to be talking about emotional triggers that pose a threat anytime you are building something new, especially something that is so vulnerable and heartfelt, just like the calling that God has placed on your life. Here is what you need to know. First off top, whenever you are triggered, that doesn't mean that you are weak. That means that you are human. So I want to share a personal story. Literally right now, as I film this, I am right now currently in life getting ready to host my first ever virtual summit. I am super excited about it, y'all. I have a dynamic lineup of women. Literally every single attendee is going to get the business strategy that they need. They are going to get powerful and impactful personal development tools, as well as just a deep, rich pouring that will strengthen their spiritual walk and their spiritual journey. I'm literally so excited just to get to this level in business where I can take that next step of faith. But a few days ago, I was right in the middle of like getting a whole bunch of communications together. I was sending out some emails. I was setting up kind of some automations that I want to go out around the summit and when the ladies come into the virtual summit. And I had probably been deep into my work for maybe about 4 hours or so. So my sister called me and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm actually going to answer the phone. I'm going to answer the phone. I could really use a break. I've been sitting in front of this computer for a long time. So like every normal person, I answer the phone and I say, hello. And then my sister, you can tell how old I am because why do kids be holding the phone like this? But this is still my signal for cell phone. So I say hello and my sister says, you know, you posting about your summit and you don't got no date on your flyers. Why you didn't put no date on your flyers? Like, I'm confused. I know you told me when the dates are, but do the other women know what the dates are? So I just want to let you know, you keep talking about your summit, but you ain't put no dates on it. Now, pause, right? Like, she probably didn't come that strong. That was probably just how I heard it through my emotional state. She genuinely was offering me help. She genuinely was being so innocent in her approach, but I immediately felt defensive. I immediately felt small. Y'all, even worse, I began to tell myself, see, you should just stick to life coaching. I told you weren't going to be able to host a large dynamic summit. What are you doing? Who do you think you are? Y'all, that was a trigger. What my sister meant to be advice, I felt it as an attack. All she said was, Hey girl, I know you got your summit getting ready to come up. I just wanted to let you know I'm seeing where you keep marketing it, but I wanted to give you a heads up. You don't have a date on it. So make sure you put a date on it so that other women can come and be in attendance. But what I heard was, you doing too much, you trying too hard, you're absolutely gonna fail, you don't know what you're doing. And that mentality is so self-sabotaging. I know when it comes to this Phenomenal Woman Unleashed Summit that I am walking in obedience with God, right? I've been praying for this. This is a major platform. This is a wonderful opportunity to build the kingdom of God, to impact and to empower women, y'all. I'm super excited. Like, if you can't tell, this is what I was made to do. And so my sister was just being kind. But what she did was she triggered a deep emotion within me and really highlighted that I was self-sabotaging myself. I want to share with you something that literally every psychologist would agree with. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is uncomfortable. Our minds and our nervous system, they want to keep us safe. They want to protect us. That means they want to keep us doing the same thing. They never want to see us step outside of our comfort zone. They never want to see us try for a little bit more and go for something a little bit greater. They want to keep us just living a consistent, stable, normal, secure life, even if that means sabotaging the calling that God has placed on your life. Y'all, guess what? I knew that there was no date on my marketing. Now, to my defense, what had happened is that I had started marketing the summit like very early. And so my initial thought process was, you know what, I'm gonna post this flyer and just really stir up just some curiosity, maybe start to attract a few attendees and those who want to come. And as we get closer to the summit, that's when I'll start saying, hey, here's the day, here's the time, and really play on the emotion of urgency and it's happening now and I need you in the room. That was my strategy. However, time kept going. I never circled back to get it. I never changed the flyer. I knew that the date wasn't clear and I was sabotaging the calling that God had placed on my life. It's a very vicious cycle to find yourself in a place where you are going round and round and round, feeling overwhelmed and knowing that what you desire is right in reach. It is just going to require some different actions and a different mindset within you. Now, here is what every single good life coach is going to do. Every good and great, amazing life coach knows that their job is to ask powerful questions that challenge your current perspective, that really broaden your horizon, make you think deeper, exposes a root that needs your attention so that you can make sure that you have healthy roots to produce healthy fruits. So y'all, I'm a life coach. When I felt triggered by my sister's call, I ran into the presence of God. I got still and I asked myself this question. Do you truly believe that you are equipped for the vision that God has given you? And if not, what narrative convinces you that you are incapable? Whew. Now, I am going to reveal to you how I had to vulnerably be honest with myself and answer that question at the end of this video. But I'm also going to share with you that this question is the fourth question out of 10 powerful, impactful questions that I am going to literally challenge you to answer. I have left them in the description box below for you to grab, because if you are on a journey to say that I'm going to walk in obedience, I'm going to lead where God is calling you, then any single thing that triggers or hinders or pops up on your journey, I challenge you to address it. So if that means, hey, grab these 10 questions and write them out in your journal, If that means just sit and reflect on them in some quiet, still time, that means grab your spouse or your best friend or your sister and really have some healthy dialogue about what you may be feeling. Or even if that means answer them and then take them to your therapist so you can unpack them a little bit deeper, I'm going to once again challenge you. Grab these 10 questions. They are yours. I created them just for you because I want to make sure that if you are on this journey, that you respond to every single thing that pops up. Hey, it's about walking in alignment with who God's called you to be. It's also about being real honest and open and authentic with yourself. This is a spiritual journey, guys, and that means for you and for the work that God is calling you to do. So grab those 10 questions in the description box below. They are absolutely yours. I promise they are going to challenge you. They're going to cause you to think a little bit deeper. They're going to give you some insight about what's taking place, and most importantly, I pray that they unlock and unhinder some things that have been slowing your progress and your growth. So, what is an emotional trigger? An emotional trigger is an internal alarm system that activates an intense emotion and goes off whenever you perceive a threat. For example, in relationship with a woman who has a calling that God's placed on her life. Maybe God has called you to write a book, maybe to launch a business, maybe to leave your 9-to-5 and go into just a full-time stay-at-home mom and homeschooling your kids. Maybe it is that you want to launch a nonprofit. Maybe it is that you have a product idea that you really want to put out there. Maybe you want to get into content creation, whatever it is, right? God has really placed something on your heart and you want to pursue it. Here is how you know that you are being triggered, and you may even be doing some damaging behavior like self-sabotaging the calling. It could be that you are literally hosting an event and you don't put the date on the flyer. It could also be maybe someone's giving you some critical feedback, or they're just giving you some advice, and you automatically jump to thoughts of feeling like a failure and that you are not good enough. It could be that you were like scrolling on Instagram and you see like 5 powerful women who are in your sector and already doing the things that you are called to do, and it causes you to get insecure, and then you go like missing off the scene for 3 months and you don't post any content and we don't hear from you, and you self-sabotage in that manner. Maybe you desire to like reach a certain goal, and when you don't have that outcome, like you are triggered to anger and you're triggered to frustration, and you start to push people out and you don't want to talk to anyone, or maybe someone makes a comment and you are never going back there, or whatever the case may be, right? You have this intense emotional response to something that is a perceived threat. Now, I'm not going to say it's not necessarily a threat, because a lot of us have life experiences that really will cause us to walk in a sensitivity as we aim to grow and to strengthen who we are. And so I'm not going to say it's not a threat, but oftentimes our response is misaligned with what's really going on, right? So it causes you not to act out of wisdom, essentially. You don't act out of wisdom. You act out of emotions that are misaligned or self-sabotaging behavior. In my own personal coaching practice, what I get to do is I get to give women the exact strategy of how to move from survival to significance. And within this framework, the second stage after survival is stability. Now, stability feels really good because you are no longer in survival mode. But stability, that second stage, is actually where you have to force yourself to do a lot of coaching and self-work and motivation, because you would want to stay in a place where you're so stable and it feels good, and you'll begin to make minimal progress or self-sabotaging progress, all because you fear the risk of what will happen outside of your comfort zone. Maybe you fear that you're not good enough and you're going to get thrown back into survival mode, or something's going to go wrong. Whatever the case may be, it requires a lot of internal internal coaching and just growth mechanisms, because you could get stuck in stability mode. And I see a lot of self-sabotaging behavior when women are in this state of stability and are doing everything they can to trust where God is leading. The problem with being stable and being in stability is that it is not success. And success is the bridge towards significance. And significance is so important. It's because that's when you're in alignment with who God's called you to be. That's when you have the opportunity to fully glorify Him with the works of your hand, to be effective for the kingdom, to do the things that He's called you to do, to have freedom in your creativity and in your thought, to show up authentic and whole and healed and happy. That's the place where we all want to be, where you get to experience the richness of His peace and all of His promises, and you get to be that girl. Not that you're not already that girl, but you know what I'm saying? You get to be that girl, that girl. That's where I want you to be. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to teach you what to do. It's even something that I had to do myself after my sister's phone call. It's the exact strategy that I want to give you whenever you feel like you have been triggered. It's simple but powerful, and that is be brave. So let's run through it really quickly. Be brave. The B in brave stands for breathe. Please, I know our brain likes to tell us like, oh girl, you're about to give me something real easy. I already know this type of stuff real quick. But listen, lean in. The B stands for breathe. Literally, your nervous system is running on autopilot, and it is trying to just have you automatically go into fight, flight, or freeze. It's automatically trying to cause you to self-sabotage. It's automatically trying to tell you that the same narrative you've been telling yourself is true. And what I need for you to do is I need for you to take a powerful moment and literally breathe. Literally, you are going to have to tell yourself, this is just a moment in time. This has nothing to do with the calling that God has placed on my life. This is not meaning that I am a failure. The B stands for breathe. R, recognize. You got to ask yourself a few questions. Let's investigate here. What just happened? Right? What just triggered me? What am I feeling? What is the wound behind this reaction? It is highly and critically important that you recognize what's taking place so that you can address it, so that you can call it out, so that you can heal it. That's why I want to make sure that you get those 10 questions that are linked in the description box below, so that you could really gather some deep, helpful, insightful information about yourself, recognizing what's going on. Because again, I felt triggered. My sister was helping me. She was giving me advice. Why did I immediately get defensive and want to just hang up the phone and say, girl, you don't know what you're talking about? She knew exactly what she was talking about. If you're hosting an event, you need to know the dates. Like, let people know the dates, right? So I had to breathe, and then I had to recognize what's happening is I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone. Great that you've been coaching for years. Great that you do have some experience with hosting a few events. But when you really think about the caliber of this virtual summit, you are opening up your world to thousands of other women that you've never got to meet. Like, that's a little bit scary. And for the little girl in me, I want to run and hide. Let's just be real. I'm not trying to pretend like I'm perfect. Like, your girl is a little bit shaking in her boots, but still I'm going to walk in obedience with God. So I had to recognize that feeling, those defensive, feeling small, feeling like I couldn't or was incapable of doing it. I had to take a moment and recognize that that's not who God's called me to be. So to breathe, and then R, recognize, ask some questions, investigate, figure out what's going on beneath the surface. What wound was was just touched that I need to address, that I need to heal, so it doesn't continue to show itself on this journey of evolution towards walking in alignment and stepping into significance. The A stands for assess. Very simple here. Is this feeling attached to a truth, or is this feeling attached to a narrative that I'm telling myself? That's the bottom line. I just want you to assess, which one are we dealing with right now, right? Do event flyers need the date on them, or are you feeling overwhelmed and incapable? A stands for assess. V, validate. V, validate. I feel like I'm like playing bingo or something. I, 19. B, 7. Right? So the V stands for validate. Okay? All jokes aside, we can't keep suppressing those emotions. No ma'am. Right? Whenever you feel an emotion, it's important not to let it control you, but it's even more important to make sure that you acknowledge the emotion. I literally had to lay in bed and I had to say, Cassidy, it's okay. It's okay, baby. You're doing something new, right? You're going after something that you've never attempted before, right? Let's really consider your dreams. You watching this. Right? God is leading you down a beautiful journey. Like, you really do have the skills, the talents, the gifts, the ability to make it come to pass. So every single time you get frustrated or overwhelmed or a little bit irritable or act out or self-sabotage, like, don't get so mad at yourself, suppress it and act like you don't feel it. Validate. Validate those emotions. Let's not ignore the parts of you that are saying, hey, can you take it a little easy? I'm new at this. Hey, can you slow down just a bit? Hey, can you thank them? They really helped you out. V stands for validate. And the E, my favorite word when it comes to being brave, execute. We were not called to stay in comfort. We were called to walk in courage. And so I want you to execute. Maybe you have to slow it down, take a little pause, but that doesn't mean you stop. You gotta keep going. Remember, from a psychological standpoint, your brain is doing everything that it can to keep you stable, to keep you safe. And I want you to, in the midst of it all, validate those emotions, recognize that they are there, take a deep breath and keep going. Y'all, literally by the time me and my sister got off the phone call, I had already got a quick little Canva template, put the dates on there, posted it on social media and said, hey y'all, these are the dates for my virtual summit. I really love to see you in the room. It was easy. I still had to answer all of those questions. And so let me tell you how I answered the question of, do you truly feel equipped for the vision that God has placed on your life? And I gotta be honest with you. Sometimes I question it. So what is the narrative that is convincing you that you are not incapable, right? I'm answering this question vulnerably before God, and my entire life flashes before my eyes. I think about growing up on the south side of Chicago and literally having to pretend just to be okay, pretend that I'm not hungry, pretend like it's all good, pretend like I don't want and wish and hope for more. I think about my young adulthood and just literally being wild, buck wild and crazy, just out here curious with life, and it is smacking me all upside down. I think about losing my daughter. I think about so many challenges and hurdles that I have had to overcome, and all of them are saying, hey Cassidy, stop right here, baby. You're good. You are an entrepreneur. You got a coaching practice. You're helping out women. Just stay basic. But no, right? I know for a fact that God is calling me to more. Hey, I also know that narrative does not line up with the word of God. Okay, so this would not be a Coach Cassidy video if I don't lean in and keep it real with you real quick. Remember, triggers don't mean that you are weak. They mean that you are human. So I know you are on this journey, and I know you are stepping into something new, and I know that it feels scary. But let me remind you, God did not give you this vision so that you could fail. So even though triggers may pop up, you cannot let them stop what God is doing in your life. This requires work. Right? This requires talking back to those voices in your head. This requires shutting out some distractions. This requires getting in your prayer closet. This requires building new habits. This requires actually posting the content. This requires doing some deeper study. This requires hiring a life coach. This requires going to therapy. This requires seeking out mentorship. This requires work. You are literally doing everything that you can to elevate to the next season. This requires getting those 10 questions and literally journaling about them, answering them, figuring out, hey, what is trying to stop God's mighty move in my life? Babe, with the right tools, you can absolutely manage your emotions. With the right resources and the right support, you absolutely can live a life where you are not constantly in arousal and constantly reactive to the things that are going on around you. You can live a life where you don't self-sabotage the beautiful and phenomenal vision and dreams that God has placed in your heart and where He's leading you to. So if this resonated with you, please do me a favor, hit the subscription, hit the subscribe button, right? But most importantly, hey, leave a comment. Let me know what resonated with you. I want to know, what is it that I can pray with you for? What is it that you're walking through? Or maybe you have some tools in addition to being brave that would be helpful for a woman reading it. I am so grateful just to have your attention. Can't wait to connect with you soon. Bye.